Peace, family. What's happening? I'm Johnny Lamar X, and second stream on Philosophical Alchemist, our second live stream. So we just back at it, and let's see how this go. All right. So today's broadcast is sponsored by the Supreme Scent. Today we got Mont Blanc Explorer. Mont Blanc Explorer. I like this scent. It's more if you like wood scents or woody scents, this is for you right here. And it's also citrus. See, a citrus scent, it projects. So a lot of people, let's just say if it's hot, like right now it's hot, it's in August, especially if you're in South Georgia, it's real hot. Put on a citrus scent, it projects, people can smell it, especially once it mixes with your pheromones, depending on you gotta take a bath now. You don't want to mix it with your pheromones and all that, and you don't wash your ass. So if you take a shower, if you take a shower and you jump out the shower and all that, it's a cool one, man. It's a real manly scent, real masculine scent right here. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can read up on it right quick. Just a moment. Hope y'all can see me. I can't see y'all anymore, but let's see. What does it say? Explorer, Mont Black Cologne. Let's see what the marketing of it is. It says Explorer by Mont Blanc. It's a woody aromatic fragrance for men. Explorer was launched in 2019. Explorer was created by some Fernandez. Man, what does it say? Hold on. Looking for. Usually it gives you some type of philosophy that goes along with the fragrance. I don't see it. So I'm going to have to give you what I know. My philosophy of it is that it is real masculine. It's masculine, but it's citrus as well. So it projects. So, okay. Today, we're just chopping it up, man. I got some notes and we just gonna go from there. All right. So the first one is in personal development, there's a principle called the law of becoming. All right. So if you don't know, if you've been under a rock, or if you know me personally, put it that way. My flagship offer is the Becoming a God. It's part of it's just an offer, man. It's part of my personal development offer. And the process of becoming, and it's evolving and growing. This is the thing. We're all caught up in a cycle of either becoming or we're either creating or we're disintegrating. So either you're going to be becoming something or you're going to be stagnant and you're basically dying. That's why a lot of people die after they retire. A lot of people, once they get older, they just start dying off, man. And I be hoping that don't happen to my parents. They retired about a year or two ago. My father did. My mother retired before him, and they're happy to stop working. And if you're in the philosophical alchemy, our work is totally different. We're totally almost anti-establishment in the fact that, man, we're just not really caught up in traditionalism. So 9 times out of 10, if you listen to me and you follow the ideology that I follow, it's all about going out here and really creating your own reality and doing what you want to do. And in a situation like that, you're always becoming something. You always have something in mind. And that's what the Becoming a God is all about. It's about figuring out who it is that you want to be. Because a God is simply being a force and power. That's what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said anyway. And we all want to be beings of force and power. Force is energy directed and power is influence. That's what force and power is. And in order to be that, it's like if you want to go to whatever you're trying to become, you have to feed yourself that stuff. As a matter of fact, where is it at? Albert Einstein said something about everything is energy. In order to be that energy, you just have, in order to be whatever it is you're trying to become, you have to match that frequency. So if you want to be a doctor, I would suggest to go read a bunch of doctors, even if you can't afford to go to medical school yet. I would say just start reading up on health. Become obsessed with it. That's another thing. If you can't become obsessed with it, if it's nothing that you're gonna sell out to, I say don't even do it. Especially if you're older, especially like you my age, like 35 plus, man, it's too late in the game to just be still trying to bounce around. You kind of need to know what it is you want to do now. That's why coaching and stuff is important, because a coach can kind of A coach ain't no kind of coach. Or the right coach, a good coach can help you get clear, and you can discover exactly who it is you are and what it is you want to do. So once you find out what it is, you have to match that level or match that frequency of what it is that you want to become. Also, you become what you think about. So whatever you're feeding yourself constantly, let's just say let's stay on the doctor example. If you wanted to be a doctor and you're just consumed with watching YouTube videos about health and healing, and you're reading books about it, you're attending seminars on it, you're taking courses on it. It's only so long before you start to, your outside reality will start to match it. Put it that way. Then, especially if you start visualizing and writing affirmations on it and stuff like that, it's only so long before your outside starts to. It's only so long before your outside starts to reflect it, because you become whatever it is you're trying to become. You become it first. It's already inside of you. And then what happens is it's something called your reticular activating system. I'll get deep on it at some point. But what it does, it's a mechanism inside your mind. And what it does is it points out the things that you've been feeding yourself. So, for instance, if you're riding around or you're sitting down, let's just say you're sitting down and you go somewhere, you may overhear a conversation about something that you've been reading in a health book. Something that reticular activating system is almost like an antenna, but it's tuned into a certain channel, and that channel is health. And what'll happen is you'll start to pick up those conversations that you wouldn't have picked up before. Somebody meet you and I, if you want to be the doctor, you and I could be sitting right next to each other, and the person behind us would be talking about health. Since I'm not tuned in on that frequency, I haven't been feeding myself that type of food, meaning health, meaning information dealing with health. They would be having a conversation that would go straight over my head because I'm tuned to another channel. But since you are tuned into that channel, you will pick up on it. And once you pick up on it, you may just say, "Hey, excuse me, I wasn't trying to butt in and listen to your conversation, but did you just speak about whatever it is that has to do with health?" And right there, you're making a connection in your 3D reality that has something to do with what it is that you've been feeding yourself or what it is that your vision is. That's how that works. So you become it right then. You become it right then. As a matter of fact, scripture says the beginning of wisdom is the fear of God. So we can look at it this way. That vision you have in your mind of who it is that you want to become, let's just say that's the God of your world. Not saying it's the God of the world, but of your world. It's you in a higher dimension right now. You have to fear doing anything contrary to what it is that could get you to become one with that God. You submit to that God. Let's just say the doctor. In order to become a doctor, you have to submit to a doctor, right? So that doctor in your mind that you see yourself as being, you have to submit to whatever it is you believe it's going to take to bring him into reality, into this physical reality. Excuse me. Oh yeah, and your subconscious, that's like your first employee. As a matter of fact, the subconscious is usually associated with the feminine. The feminine. That's what the subconscious is. She's there to really serve the masculine, which is your conscious mind. But the thing is, your conscious mind only picks up so much data at one point, and the subconscious mind picks up a lot more data than that. So what you have to do is feed the subconscious mind the same way you would feed the woman. You give your woman some food, she gives you a meal. You give her a house, she gives you a home. That's how you give her your seed, she gives you a baby. That's the way the subconscious mind is. You have to watch what you feed it. You have to consciously decide what it is that you want to become. And once you consciously decide about what it is that you want to become, now you feed the subconscious everything that it's going to take in order to you give it to her, you feed it to her, and she'll give. Don't worry about the how. She'll come up with the how, right? Because she communicates with God. The same way when you feed her your semen, her and God co-create to bring out a baby, which is something that you desire, hopefully. It's the same thing here. When you feed her your thoughts, when you feed the subconscious information or environments, she's going to produce. Remember that reticular activating system that's in the female. It's going to give you signs of inspiration about what it's going to take in order to make those things come into your reality. It's something to think about. This is a good one. Listen to your inner combo. That inner combo that lets you know who you are. Sit back and just listen to it. What conversations are you having on a daily basis inside of your mind? Because that's going to let you know exactly what frequency you're traveling on the most. As a matter of fact, we're going to read it, man. Hold on. We got to read it. Here it is. Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality that you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. And when we speak of a reality, right? A reality is composed of reality is created by a word. It's created by your thoughts, and your thoughts are described by your words. The scripture says the worlds were formed by the worlds were formed by the word of God. So the word of God is those words that are in your mind, because you are God. Those words whatever you're thinking, once it comes out of your mouth, it's vibrating and it's attracting things to you or it's repelling things from you. That's real. So watch the conversation you're having in your mind. And that's why we get into presence. Presence is so important. Everything starts with being present. Everything starts with observing that conversation in your mind. Because once you observe it, now you can change it. And once you change that, you change yourself. Because once you change those conversations, really, that's just a sign that your thinking has been changed or your programming has been changed. And we all operate off of a program. That's what creates our world. Yeah, the only way to change the inner combo is to rewrite the story, and you do this by gaining a higher perspective. Right. The only way to really change that conversation as well, you have to write another story. So, for instance, or get a better understanding of it. If it's a conversation that you don't want to have, which most of us do, most of us are having negative conversations in our mind. There's only a few, just like you only have a few people who are actually in shape. You have more fat people and out of shape people than you have people who are in shape. So what we have to do is observe those thoughts and change them. Again, you do that through observing the situation. Like for instance, let's just say if you're in a situation and I don't know, you may have been molested. Who knows? I don't want to go down. Let's not say molested. Let's just say you're having money problems. You want to go in and see where those money problems started. And what you do, you write the script. Like let's say myself. I'm gonna use myself for an example. Growing up, I thought you had to work super hard for money. That's just the way I was taught. I was taught. I started off. I don't know how many acres my parents' yard was, but it wasn't a small yard at all. And I used to mow this big yard. in the heat of summer for $20. I did it because you know, I had to, but also I liked my $20. It was cool. I was what 11, 12 years old getting $20, so it was cool. But that was a lot of work. It seemed that way. Maybe it wasn't. It's $10 an hour. I guess back in what 2000, 2001. I guess that wasn't bad. But I also grew up watching every car in the house for $20. My dad always had a lot of cars. So again, I'm watching a bunch of cars with $20. Then I left there and I started working at Kentucky Fried Chicken for $5.25. And that was a lot of work. It wasn't hard work as far as concentration, but it was hard work as far as implementation. I mean, you had to be fast. It's fast food. You had to work fast. It was dirty, long hours, sometimes at 16. But I stayed, it was consistent money. So as I got older, I had a block in my mind. I always thought you had to work super hard for money, right? It wasn't until I went inside and I seen that. Well, actually, it wasn't until I made easy money on a consistent basis that I started to understand that some of the richest people are not working hard physically. As a matter of fact, I would say m- probably most of the people who make the most money probably don't work hard physically. Honestly, so it's easier to dig a ditch than it is to sit behind a desk. That's real. It's the people who think. It's the people who have to concentrate and strategize. That's who makes the money because most people don't want to think and concentrate. But I remember I had to really go in and rewrite that script. I had to make it as if in this script I was raised making money off of my ideas, and that was the way that I knew how to get money. So stuff like that, sometimes you have to actually go in and just rewrite and rewire that program. And also gaining another perspective on things. We have our perspective, but then you have other people's perspectives. A lot of us like to go to scripture, like you might go to the Bible, you may go to the Quran, things of that nature. That helps clear things up for you as well if you subscribe to a belief system. Once you subscribe to that belief system, sometimes that can help you as far as your perspective on things that may have occurred in your life. All right, let's go to that. Most of us talk about what we don't want because we're programmed by a negative world. I'm willing to say 85% of this world is negative. From the news to the conversations that we hear to even on social media, negative news grabs headlines. That's just the way this thing seems to be. That's the way it seems to operate. So that's what we're used to. We're used to feeding off the negative. We're used to talking about what we don't want instead of what we do want. The moment we can starve what we don't want and focus strictly on what it is that we do want, that's when that reticular activating system starts working for us. Remember, let's go back to it. The reticular activating system is like an antenna. That antenna picks up on what it is that you think and what you say. So if you're steady focused on, damn man, I don't want to be broke. I don't want to be broke. What happens is you're feeding yourself don't want to be broke. And that feeling is what attracts things to you. So what's happening is the activating system is just saying, don't want to be broke, broke, broke. So therefore, every time you open the mail, the bill seems super high. There's always something that you have to pay for that seems like you didn't want to pay for because you're focused on not having money, not having money. But if you switch it up and say, I'm so grateful now that I have more than enough. I'm so grateful now that I have more than enough. That same bill will show up, But you'll look at it, your perspective on it will be so much different. And that energy that you have generates more towards you or attracts more towards you. More than enough. More than enough. So let's just say that bill was $348, $78. Because you don't have that scarcity energy around it, it's not gonna affect you so much on the inside. And it's an inside out game that attracts the things that we want. So if you feel like you have more than enough, you can look at the same bill that's $378 and say, okay, I'm so thankful that I have the money to pay for it. Now I'm not out of lights. Instead of saying, damn man, I ain't never have no money. Right? So now you pay the bill and you still stuck in that scarcity energy. And now it's still retracting. You're still not don't have that energy that's gonna attract anything to you. It's still going out in a begrudging way. Where again, if you said, I'm so grateful now that I have more than enough to pay this bill, you pay that bill, you're thankful, you're grateful for it, and now you still see other opportunities because of the way that your mindset is trained to think. Every time that happens, what really happens is you're building up a muscle inside of your mind. You're building up that positive muscle. It's really faith. That's what faith is. But now you're living faith because your perspective's changed. But in order to do all this, you have to be present though. Present starts all this because if you're not present, you just won't see it. You will not see anything that most of us aren't even aware about thinking. We're reacting to life. We're not aware that we're consciously creating everything that's going on around us in our life. So if we're not present to observe our thoughts and observe our words, what's happening is that we're really drifting. We're really not even conscious of anything outside of the material world. So oftentimes that leads to victimhood. Oftentimes that leads us to feeling like we don't have any options. We don't have any choice. We're just victims, or we feel like God is just punishing us and we must have done something before, not realizing usually it's just mental blocks. It's mental barriers that we're not aware of at the moment. And once we're present of our thinking, which is usually negative, now it's making that decision just like going to the gym every single day. You're choosing positivity. You're choosing because positive is just a perspective. Everything in this universe has a negative and a positive charge to it. Everything is made up of small atoms, and even underneath the atoms, you have I think quarks, or something like that. Don't quote me on it, but everything has a negative and a positive charge. Most of us have been trained to think on the negative charge, but in order to create the reality that we want, we have to be able to at least see the positive charge and focus on that. Negative is going to be there. I'm not saying negative is bad. It's just negative. Positive. It's just it depends on how you react to it. Because you can take a positive and still see a negative in it. You can take a negative and still see a positive in it. It's just the way it works. But most of us just have not been trained to see the positive. And that positive is just like going, once you're present, instead of reacting, because you are what you react to. Remember that you are whatever you react to. You want to know who you are? Watch what it is that you react to and how you react to it. It's going to let you know a lot about who you are and where you are mentally. But what happens is if we focus on the positive and act on that positive and steady stay there, eventually what happens is it's just like going to the gym. When you first went to the gym, you may have been throwing up 75 pounds, bench pressing. After that first week or that first day, let's just say the first week, your first week of thinking positive, it gets easier. The next week, you can throw up 100 pounds or 95 pounds bench pressing. and it keeps going and it keeps going. And what happens is people that we deem as successful and people who persevere and stuff like that. What happens is they've trained them, even if they're not consciously aware of it, they've trained themselves to be that way over the years. They've trained themselves to just maintain that positive mentality over the years. They built that up. So now they're at a point where it's easy to do. Or they're just not affected by the small things that people who have not built that up. People are so fragile on the inside because we're not built up on the inside. And the way to be built up on the inside, again, it goes back to what you feed yourself. The things you feed yourself it's what you read, what you watch, what you listen to. But that's the nutrition. And once you act on it, the acting part, that's like hitting the gym. That's like building that inner resistance. And eventually, just like anything else, you stick with it, start seeing results 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year. You start to see results 5 years. You start to see those results. Okay. I spoke about this earlier, but I didn't call it the law. It's called the law of correspondence that says that the outside world just reflects our inside world. As above, so below. So everything that we see, on some level, we created it. On some level. A lot of times when people say things to us, like I remember, I remember trying to sell stuff. I was trying to sell certain things, right? And I remember one of the guys was just saying I kept getting no's on it because deep down I wasn't sold on it. Let's just say if I was only sold on it for 10% sold on it. I was only selling the product 10% of the time. But with another product that I was 100% sold on, I may not have sold it 100% of the time, but I probably sold it at least 60, 65% of the time because I was that sold on it. It's the same thing in our reality. Whatever it is that we see, oftentimes we have to take responsibility for. It may not be our fault, but it is our responsibility because it's in our reality. That's what being a God is all about. Imagine God blaming everybody else when he created the whole thing. God can only blame Satan but so much because he created Satan. How it works. True peace, joy, happiness, and abundance comes from living the life in accordance with God, with the God of the universe, and you gain this through presence. Yeah, no doubt. Peace, joy, and abundance, you really don't get that from the outside world. Everything in the outside reality or the material world is very fleeting. That's why you have to stay consuming. That's why the enemy keeps trying to get us to consume things. He wants us to, consume, just become very materialistic and just consume everything because he has to keep us in a state of steady wanting and desiring. Like with the women, you have to look a certain type of way. You need this lipstick, you need this purse, you need this booty, you need these boobs, you need something. He has to create that insecurity inside of you in order to get you to keep consuming. Keep consuming. With men, it's all about the bag, it's all about the money. It's all about the women. You got to run through a whole bunch of women in order to be happy. But truth be told, the only true peace, joy, and abundance is submitting to the will of God. That's the only way you get it. That's the only way. And if you don't want to say God, say the universe, universal principles. And the golden rule is do unto others as you want somebody to do unto you. That's the real religion. That's the golden rule. If you don't believe in any other religion, believe in that. The law of karma. What you give, you will receive. So just remember that. But that's Philosophic Alchemy for today. I hope to be back with you tomorrow. Peace.